and Charles here. I finally got the ladder on. Let me tell you all about it, and thanks for watching. Well, I'm glad to finally get this on. In previous episodes I mentioned that I was waiting for my son-in-law to help me because I was concerned about popping this trim off, because I know with some people popping trim off, they break pins and it's kind of a hassle, and it turned out you now don't have to do that. Flatline has come up with a new adapter. It's a totally different one, and maybe I'm the first one to get it, I don't know, but and they're going to be updating their instructions. So did not have to pop the trim at all. Well, there really isn't much to putting this ladder together. You can't do it wrong. One side slides into the other, and let me bring the camera in closer and I'll show you the parts. Well, let's take a quick look at the parts. You can see here we've got two what are called bayonets, and they've got 4 holes drilled in each of them. They're solid aluminum, and then there are the button head bolts that go in. We've got 5 self-drilling bolts that we're going to be using when we attach the ladder to the bottom of the transit. They supply you with the Allen wrenches that you need, but I have the T-handle ones that work great. You see larger bolts for attaching it to the rack itself. There is the part that's used to connect it, and you attach that with the self-drilling screws, and that's really about it. And so all I have to do is just take the bayonet on each side. I'm going to slide it in, line up the hole, and screw in the bolt. So I just slid this part onto the bayonet, and then, as I'll show you, there's the plate. The flat plate is still there, but now there's this upright part that connects. So what do you need to do it? I use an impact driver. I use a 5.5 millimeter T-handle Allen wrench, a socket wrench for when I was tightening the button head bolts, that 2 up there and 2 down here, and then I pre-drilled from underneath going out. It's going into the space where the trim is. I pre-drilled, and then these drove right in, but this is very, very, very solid. And so let me show you some close-ups, and it's really pretty easy to do. Because I did want to mention one mistake I made when I took the ladder and I set it up there in the snow. I didn't pay attention to the fact that this bracket underneath here needs to go underneath and behind as you're putting the ladder up, and I didn't do that. And so I got up there and attached those 2 bolts almost all the way tight, but not quite. Came back down, and it was sitting right here on top of this. I couldn't install it, so I had to take them off, set it again, and then make sure this is underneath, then went up, attached them, and I was good. So easy mistake to make. And again, this is specific to a Ford Transit, okay? How the others are installed, I really haven't paid attention to, but I know this is what we're doing for a Ford Transit. I do want to mention, coming down, it reminded me, you've got a pretty decent amount of space for your feet. I've seen some people with some pretty expensive ladders where they barely could get their toes on it. And this one, that's not the case. It is angled really well, so it hugs the transit. So when you get up there, you're kind of, hanging back a little bit, but I like how it really stays close, and it does not stick out farther than the mirror. So that's good to know as well. You might think that would be a problem, but they've got it so it's actually sticks out less than the mirror. So if your mirror doesn't hit, the ladder won't hit. So here's where we attach the ladder: 2 button head bolts, lock washer and nuts on the back. And this is where those smaller slots were that I pointed out in the rack install video, as opposed to these longer slots that are for the crossbars, and you attach them wherever you want, and then you can, anytime you want, loosen these and adjust them. And some may have noticed I actually used a couple of these static, just holes, for a couple of the crossbars because of where my passive vent was. I couldn't quite get it where I wanted. I think these are meant for the Fiamma awning that this is ready for one of those, but I'm not going to use one, so I use those instead in a couple places. And so this is the place where behind here, and I'll show you, that's where that plate is, where we are attaching the rails all the way across. So here you can see from behind, here's the one bolt, here's the second, and that's really it. Here's that plate again where they join together, but that's really all it is up here. These two bolts, get them tight, make sure. So previously, this plate here would be under this trim, so you'd have to pop this trim off, and then you would fit the plate under, and once you had it all assembled, then you would snap this back in. So now you can see this just goes back behind, and here are the two button head bolts exactly the same size as the ones up above. And let me go underneath right now. Okay, so now here we have the plate, and here's the self-drilling screws that I put in, and I put in a couple of extra. You can tell that one's different. These two are different. These are the ones from Flatline, and I've got actually one more of theirs that I'm going to install here, and I might just do that for you. So this is what it used to be before, this plate, and that was it. So it required you to be underneath this trim. Now we're on this side, and then what's new is this here that I call flange, this upright, and I just ran bolts through here, tighten them up, we're all done. I will have to tell you that I did take some leverage here to push the ladder to get these to line up, but I got it just fine. And then when I went to put these on, there was a gap like about that much, so I just got underneath it and was pushing it with my knee. If I had somebody with me, all I had to do would be for them to just pull out here and help pull it tighter. But once I got the first, I think I put this one in first right here, I was good. Folks, that's it. Two on the top, two right here, all of these, and we are good. So I've actually got one more hole. These holes are out in open space, so you can't do anything there, but I've got a hole, I've got a self-drilling screw, so I'm just going to go ahead and do a pilot hole here. Take my impact driver, fit it in. There we go. I was at an angle there. And that's what you do. I told you it was a pretty simple install. Two bolts up there. Make sure that you get it underneath. Two bolts with the ladder. Then you get under. And two more bolts with the uprights. And then you put in 4 to up to 7 if you want to go like crazy like me of the self-drilling screws, and you're done. Enjoy the ladder. I'm happy to have it. It's going to be great for getting up there, for hanging out on the deck, or if we store anything up there, we can access it quite easily. Easy to use, easy to install. Thanks for watching.